Reward systems, huge, huge topic. We're talking about individual motivation. That's at the micro level, and at the macro level, we've got what does the organization do to try and ensure that the reward system supports desired behavior. Okay, so what's it all about? Hedonistic principle, dating back to the turn of the last century, says that we move toward pleasure and away from pain. In other words, you and I, as human beings, are more likely to repeat behavior if that behavior becomes associated with rewards. We are less likely to repeat behavior if that behavior is not associated with rewards. So again, sort of the bottom line is really, it's in some respects quite simple. If you and I believe that we are being rewarded, we are likely to engage in behavior. So for an organization, the challenge is trying to figure out what should the reward system look like given the behaviors that we want to see people engage in. 3 different kinds of rewards. The first, what you might think of as tangible and extrinsic. So things that you can put your hands on, like money, that are outside of an individual. That's one category. A second category deals with things like recognition and personal relationships. May or may not be tangible. Third, intrinsic, so inside of you, and self-generated. Something like how you feel after you accomplish something, that you can feel, I feel really motivated because that sense of accomplishment just felt great. And therefore I want to do whatever I did to get that sense of accomplishment, to get that good feeling. I want to do that again. Now, as human beings, you and I are different from each other. You and I, what makes us tick varies. Individual differences are responsible for the reality that that which motivates me may or may not motivate you. Quick example. I hate being publicly recognized. And when I say I hate it, I mean I will do almost anything to avoid it. If you tell me that my engaging in a particular behavior is going to lead to, God forbid, having my name called, getting a plaque, getting a certificate, if I knew that in advance, I probably would not engage in that behavior because I don't like being in that kind of spotlight. I find that uncomfortable, and quite frankly, that's not why I do the things that I do. For other people, however, that opportunity to be in the spotlight is incredibly motivating for them. That really does make them tick. So what accounts for this? Well, it could be the way I was brought up. It could be my personality. It could be, I could go on and on and on. There are a lot of things that account for you and I being motivated by different things. And it can change over the course of our lifetimes. It can change as a function of the organization in which we find ourselves and so on. So a really challenging aspect of being a leader in an organization is trying to figure out what will make the people who work for you, what makes them tick, what helps them to be motivated, at the same time keeping in mind that we somehow have to maintain equity within our workforce. We can't just give some people a lot of something and not give equally deserving people, nothing at all. So we have to find a way to give people what will make them individually motivated, keeping in mind equity. Huge challenge. Now I want to dive a little bit into what does it mean, first of all, to be motivated. So the authors talk a little bit about what they call rewards and performance motivation. And there's a theory with which I want you to become very familiar. It's called expectancy theory. The originator of this theory, his name is Victor Vroom, and the most important work on this subject was published in 1964. Now, don't let the date scare you. 50 years ago. Don't think about that as, oh, that's so old-fashioned. In fact, the theory is as relevant today as it was 50 years ago, as it was 50 years before Victor Vroom gave it a name. And here's how it works. There are 3 key pieces. If you can imagine, from left to right, effort, which leads to performance, which leads to some set of outcomes or rewards. You and I make decisions about how much effort we are willing to put forward in any enterprise as a function of three elements of those three things that I just mentioned: effort, performance, outcome. Okay, so let me articulate this more. The first thing that you and I consider when we're trying to decide, am I going to be motivated, is there some kind of reward? And again, keep in mind, it doesn't have to be extrinsic, it doesn't have to be tangible. It could be as simple as, I'm going to feel good if I do this. So first of all, is there a reward? Second, is there some value associated with that reward? The word that Vroom used was valence. So what kind of value is associated with that reward? And it's in fact quite simple. If you and I look at the possible reward and you and I decide there's no value, the valence is 0, guess how much effort we're going to exert? None. Because either there's no reward, or there is a reward, but we don't care about the reward. Somebody offers me a plaque, I'm going to say, yeah, no thanks. So that's the first thing we think about. The second thing we think about is a relationship called instrumentality. And that is the connection between performance and outcome. Instrumentality basically is this. You and I have a subjective probability. We lay odds on the possibility, if I achieve a particular level of performance, am I going to get that reward? If we think there's a pretty good chance that when we reach the performance level, we're actually going to get the reward, hey, guess what? We're likely to exert effort. If we don't think that the odds are good, we're actually going to get that reward, yeah, then probably not going to exert a whole lot of effort. Third, there's this thing called expectancy, and this is the relationship between effort and performance. And what this boils down to is this. Do I think that I can exert enough effort to actually achieve the desired performance level? In other words, do I think that I can try hard enough to get to the desired performance? And if the answer is yes, then I'm likely to exert sufficient effort. If the answer is no, not so much. So some bottom line implications. You want people to be motivated? Number one, you have to make sure there's some kind of reward. That's essential. Number two, the reward has to be valued. By whom? Not by the manager, not by the leader, but by the person you want to be motivated. That's the person who decides whether that reward is meaningful. Third, the person has to believe that if they exert the desired level of performance, they're actually going to get that reward. So your company can't have a history of telling people, hey, you do this, you get to this level, and guess what? You're going to get this kind of bonus, and then they never actually deliver. If the company doesn't deliver on its promises, people will say, I don't need you. You're not getting the effort out of me. Next, people have to believe that I can actually do it. I can achieve the performance you've asked me to achieve. If they don't believe that, again, fruitless. So no matter what kind of reward system you're thinking about, those pieces will be essential. Again, people have to really believe that it all is going to happen. All right. Next, Lawler and Worley talk about what they call attraction, retention, satisfaction. And you're going to hear a lot of the same themes repeated over and over. Organizations have to offer rewards in order to get people, first of all, in order to attract people to the organization. Now think about this from your own perspective. In the past, certainly you've heard about different companies, and they have what you might call a brand when it comes to their reward systems. For example, we know that some companies offer great upfront salary. Other companies are known for the fact that their benefits are fantastic. Other companies are known for the fact that the people who work there are amazing, and so you'll be rewarded by the opportunity to work with some amazing people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? So companies have sort of a brand. And again, people get attracted based on some expectation that they're going to receive certain rewards, and they stay when that actually happens. So I'll come and work for you based upon what I perceive to be true. I'll stay if it is. If people don't get the rewards that they're expecting, that they've been promised, there's this psychological contract basically that says, I'll come and work for you, and in exchange, I'm going to get XYZ from you. If that psychological contract is broken in any way, bye-bye. People will look for other opportunities. And the truth is, the more highly qualified people are, the more opportunities, the more options they have. They don't have to stay with you. So they'll leave. So you want to design a reward system that will work. And Lawler and Worley talk about several of what they call universal reward principles. In fact, they have 5. Number 1, give people a good job. That is absolutely necessary. And as it says in your lecture outline, you can think about this using the job characteristics model. I strongly encourage you to look up this model. It'll tell you what is a good job, what does that actually mean? And then if you've got questions, you can reach out to me. Second, forget about merit increases. Instead, give bonuses. In fact, Ed Lawler, if you look at his blog on the Forbes site, you'll find a wonderful piece in which he talks about this. The whole idea that regular merit increases do not motivate people as well as bonuses do. So, and what this really is built on, it's a simple principle. It says that in order for me to get that certain behavior is what you want, you need to tie the reward for that behavior pretty close in time to when I engage in that behavior. So that's the beauty of the bonus. I did something good. I got this reward. That's awesome. You give merit increases, which just increase the base. The bottom line, what Lawler argues, is then what you're really rewarding people for is the fact that they've been around for a long time. The other thing that happens is that the line of sight between what I did and what my reward, it gets really blurry. It gets hard for people to connect behavior and reward. And you always want those two things to be connected in people's minds. Third, if you want team performance, guess what? You got to pay for team performance. You can't pay people for individual behavior unless what you want them to do is think about their self-interest. If that's what you want, then that's what you reward. If you want team, then you got to reward for team behavior. This is a big challenge, of course, because how do you hold people accountable? How do you keep people from engaging in social loafing or slacking? When if the team does well, hey, guess what? I get some kind of reward, even if my personal contribution to that team effort was inconsequential, maybe even negative. This is a challenge, and I would encourage you to think hard about this particular principle that Lawler and Worley toss out there. Give it some critical thinking and decide yourself what makes the most sense. Fourth, you have to give people a piece of the action. People have to have skin in the game. So, stock options are great. That gets them focused on overall performance. It all boils down to this. When people have a sense of ownership, they're more likely to be committed. When they are more committed, they are more likely to perform at a high level. That makes pretty simple sense, right? Next, 5, don't be satisfied with a once-a-year reward cycle. And actually, this is based on a lot of great motivation theory. And fundamentally, again, it's the line of sight. If I did something really good a year ago and I got to wait a full year before I get the reward, I can't put the pieces together. I can't. I mean, it just doesn't work in my head. So if you want me to really grasp, hey, that thing you just did, that was good, then I got to see the reward for that pretty darn close to when it happened. Now, here's the challenge. Here's the mental challenge. Sometimes we're not looking for immediate behavior. We're looking for sustained behavior. So then our managerial or our leadership challenge is how do we create rewards for the long run? That's something for you to be thinking about. In the next video, we'll talk about SMO reward systems. See you then.